From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Back from the brink.
To come back from a drought like that, I would have never expected it.
We head to North Dakota where wheat harvest is underway, as scouts on the Pro Farmer Crop Tour go in search of higher yields in Iowa.
It seems like everybody wants to talk about record yield or disaster.
And Illinois.
Just too much heat, too much moisture, stress.
Does this part of the Corn Belt offer up more hope for harvest? The latest numbers and reports from the field right now on AgDay.
The 2022 Pro Farmer Crop Tour on AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. For cutting-edge agronomic advice for your farm, count on your local Pioneer team for year-round crop management insights. Pioneer, an American seed brand since 1926. And by Pivot Bio Proven 40. Predictable, productive, weatherproof. Turn to a better nitrogen with Pivot Bio Proven 40. Learn more at pivotbio.com.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's the final day of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour with the eastern and western legs meeting up tonight in Rochester, Minnesota. But before they do, they have a lot of ground left to cover, including the rest of the heart of the Corn Belt, Iowa. But before we look ahead, let's look back at day 2 numbers, starting with Indiana. Scouts finding an average of 177.85 bushels to the acre. That's down more than 15 bushels from last year. USDA in August predicting 189 bushels an acre. As for soybeans, also a potentially smaller yield with 1,165.95 pods counted in a 3x3 foot square, down almost 6% from crop tour last year. Now, USDA is predicting 60 bushels to the acre. To the west, and Nebraska corn yields estimated to be 158.53. That's down double digits from last year, and USDA, well, it put its August forecast at 181 bushels to the acre. While soybeans, they were counted at 1063.72. That's pods in a 3x3 foot square. It's down more than 13% year over year, while USDA is calling for an average statewide yield of 55 bushels to the acre. Now that brings us to day 3 and what scouts saw yesterday on the tour. Let's start in the east, and AgDay's Michelle Rook. Crews making their way from Illinois and into eastern Iowa, hoping to find bigger yields than they did on the first 2 days.
Here in Illinois, scouts are finding a good crop, just not a bumper crop like they did last year, mainly due to heat and moisture stress. Brian Divis' route ran from border to border, and he says the crop got better as they moved west. He says the corn has excellent plant health and looks uniform from the road.
But you get 3, 4, 6 rows in, and the ears overall seem to be a little bit smaller.
He says there's evidence of stress, with 80+% of the ears he's pulled showing some level of tip back.
There's too much heat, too much moisture, stress at the wrong times earlier in the season. It's just shortened the crop and shortened the ears.
So he thinks USDA's last corn estimate of 203 BPA may be out of reach.
Still a great crop, just maybe not as good as what they had seen last year. It's going to be tough to hit 203 out of Illinois this year from what we've seen.
Not seeing the rows around you'd hope to see, and the length is just not there. That's how we know we've lost our, we were looking at maybe a 240 average, and tip back too far, can't do it anymore.
Ed Sims says while his soybean pod counts from east to west varied from 556 to 2256, he has scouted in Illinois the last 3 years and thinks the crop has good potential.
The beans are good. The beans look good. We've seen a little SDS, not real bad. Lots of 3 bean pods they still got to fill out.
He says the difference between a good crop and a bumper crop may depend on the weather the rest of the season.
This year, they're still going to need one more good mud-soaking rain to finish these beans.
Potomac, Illinois farmer Brian Seaver says he's running a 4.5-inch moisture deficit at his farm, and so he's looking at yields right around his 65 bushel per acre APH.
Our soybeans look like they've kind of made it through the drought a little better than expected. I think at least we're going to have average or better soybeans this year.
In Illinois, I'm Michelle Rook.
In the west, drought and heat have been showing up in sampled fields, but as Farm Journal's Ty Morgan reports, scouts were more hopeful as they moved on from Nebraska into western Iowa.
Well, Clinton, as scouts waded through western Iowa on Wednesday, conditions did improve, but that's after a disappointing start to the western leg of Pro Farmer Crop Tour this year.
It seems like everybody wants to talk about record yield or disaster, and we're neither one of those right now.
Well, scouts found a better crop than what they saw the first 2 days. Peter Meyer says he's still not impressed with the corn. One major reason? Low ear count.
This is where we're losing the yield, right? Where we've had obviously some problems here. The weather did not cooperate early on, pollination issues, and then in the case of Nebraska, that crop really went backwards in the last 2 weeks.
Michael McGuire farms in the southwest corner of Iowa, and he says corn yields will be well below last year's surprising yields.
I'd say we're going to be below APH by like 20 bushel. And in this area, the last 5 years, anything below 200 is about crop failure. We've been raising some pretty good corn here lately.
McGuire says leading up to July 4th, prospects were strong, so they spared no expense on inputs.
We did two rounds. We did fungicide with the last pass of herbicides, and then we did with fungicide.
When scouts entered Carroll County, Iowa on Wednesday, they seemed to find the garden spot of western Iowa this year.
But there's really only a couple county area in all of west central Iowa that has great yield potential this year.
The more promising story across western Iowa could be the soybeans.
I would say that there's a greater chance today of these producers yielding APH or above in beans than there is corn for sure.
Stronger soybeans with some spotty showers sweeping across Iowa on Wednesday. Rains that are too late to impact most of the corn.
Look, it's not a disaster like Nebraska was for sure, but I think that a lot of this part of western Iowa has been baked into the market already. But I don't think the Nebraska numbers have been baked into the market yet.
As we traveled farther north towards Spencer, Iowa, things got considerably drier. The grass you could see was turning brown and the corn was really stressed. Reporting from western Iowa for AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan.
All right, thanks, Tyne. And join us tonight as we wrap up the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. We'll be online at 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern with Crop Tour Live. We'll have the latest numbers for all of Iowa and Minnesota. To watch, follow the link at agweb.com/crop tour. And we'll have a full wrap up tomorrow morning on Ag Day. Heavy rain and flash flooding continue to threaten the lower Mississippi Valley, and the problems may shift further east. Meteorologist Matt Yurisovic is tracking it.
Yeah, Clinton, we've seen a lot of rain in parts of the deep south, and there is a lot of that piling up, especially North Texas, all the way through eastern parts of Texas. And Louisiana saw a lot of rain as well. Take a look at that map. That is inches on inches of rain. And yeah, that is hurting some of the crops down in that area. We didn't have a lot of rain for a while, and now it all came at once. And some of those blue areas in northern parts of Louisiana showing upwards of 9 to 10 inches of rain in the last 4 or 5 days. So lots of rain there, but let's move up to an area which has been pretty dry, and that is parts of the Midwest, where our crews are out there on the crop tour, and we've got a little bit of a chance of an isolated shower or a thunderstorm as we head through this afternoon, especially as those crews approach Rochester, Minnesota. The forecast for there, about 76 degrees as we head through the afternoon. That'll be the high temperature. An isolated shower or a storm is possible. Otherwise, it's going to be partly sunny, which means you will see some of that sunshine, but it'll be mixed in with some clouds there as well. But overall, a pretty nice day out on crop tour. And soybeans are ready to harvest, but heavy rains are delaying field work. And now, as you can see, pods are starting to sprout in some areas. Matt Miles taking this picture in McGehee, Arkansas. He tells us he's concerned about the forecast looking ahead because too much moisture could cause those beans to rot. We'll take a closer look coming up in the forecast.
From too much rain to a state that's now almost completely covered in extreme drought. We're talking about Rhode Island. Now take a look at the latest drought monitor. A sea of red. U.S. Secretary of Ag Tom Vilsack declaring all 5 of the state's counties as primary natural disaster areas. The declaration allows eligible farms to be considered for low-interest emergency loans. The state is home to about 1,100 farms. In China, extreme heat and drought are causing widespread problems, with authorities across the Yangtze River scrambling to limit damage to power, crops, and livestock. China's heat wave has now stretched past 70 days. There's concern damage to crops and water scarcity could spread to other food-related areas, resulting in a substantial price increase or even a food crisis. Well, have we seen the lows in the energy sector? Michelle Rook discusses that next in a conversation with Tommy Grisafi. And later, yes, Crop Tour is about corn and soybeans, but we see you too, wheat growers. We check in on how harvest is going in North Dakota. Applications are now being accepted for USDA's Higher Blends Infrastructure Incentive Program. Now, the window, open for 90 days, $100 million in grants will be awarded through that program. The idea, upgrade and build biofuel-related infrastructure. It would support a variety of operations such as gas stations, convenience stores, and larger retail stores that sell fuel. Oil prices climbed back above $90 per barrel this week. Michelle Rook joins us once again with a closer look at energy market expectations.
In with analysis, Tommy Grisafi, Advanced Trading. Tommy, for all the recessionary talk that we've had, the stock market equity sector has really rebounded strongly, hasn't it?
It has. I was afraid to look at my 401k back at June 15th, and I didn't look at it till just now. Of course, like many other investors, we're in long-only funds, S&P, whatever the good folks at our 401k suggest we should be in. Obviously, you could be in cash. But rather than talking about that the stock market's down 20, 30%, I'd like to say the stock market's only 10% from all-time highs. And although you're seeing some warnings with department stores like Kohl's and some big shakeups at Walmart and Target, there's still optimism. There's still people hiring. There's still a lot of money. We're starting to get to the end of the stimulus money. Those people are finally going out and getting jobs. But America's running on full steam. Yes, we're being taxed with higher energy prices, higher food. Energies recently have sold off. So maybe someone's seeing something we're not. Right. For all the people saying doom and gloom, it's not out there in the stock market.
You mentioned crude oil in the energy sector has had a pullback. Do you think the low is in there?
Looking at the crude oil action, it's starting to have a bottoming action. You're starting to see bigger up days, lower lows. If we get one more big update, I think a lot of people raise their hand and say the low's in. We should have bought it days before, weeks before. Looking out to multiple years, prices seem to have a bottoming action.
All right, thanks for joining us, Tommy Grisafi with Advanced Trading, and more AgDay coming up.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grisafi at 800-664-4383.
AgDay is brought to you by EndZone from Farm Shop MFG, which allows you to rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's an extra semi-load added to your bottom line. Order your EndZone fan by August 29th and receive 7% off.
Hi everybody, I wanted to wish AgDay a fantastic 40th anniversary. After retirement, my wife and I moved to West Lafayette, Indiana to be on the very vibrant Purdue campus. In fact, I'm working part-time for the College of Science as we loan out equipment to high schools around the state of Indiana, and I'm the driver for that, and really loving that. But you know what I loved most about my career? It's AgDay. It was doing AgDay weather because of you, the audience. You're so knowledgeable about the weather, it just kind of made my job easy.
Always great to hear from former AgDay meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Now, Matt, as you showed us earlier, there's some concerns about what all this rain is doing to crops and how in some cases they may be ready to harvest and how that could impact them. And you look, boy, across the southern U.S. there, all the way from Arizona, Louisiana, I mean, lots of rain.
Lots of inches and inches of rain. And unfortunately, this all came in areas that were extremely dry, and now we've gotten all of this rain at once. So obviously that's going to put a wrench in things down in the south. But more rain is even expected down in those parts of the country over the next 10 days. And you can see those areas where a lot of moisture has fallen over the past week: Arizona, New Mexico, northern parts of Texas, East Texas, and then along parts of the Gulf Coast as well. Lots of blue showing up there in the map, but things starting to dry out again across parts of the Corn Belt where crews have been out on crop tour, and we're going to see some more rain there over the next couple of days, but more rain is likely across the Deep South and the Southwest as we head through next week, and could get rid of some of those drought conditions, but could also cause more flooding, and those crops could still be in jeopardy down in that part of the country as well. And here's a look at the rain just as we head through the the next couple of days and into the start of the weekend. A lot more going on in southern parts of Louisiana and over towards Mississippi and Alabama, where we could have some more showers and thunderstorms, creating some flooding potential there as well. And then along the coast of Texas, in the Gulf Coast of Texas there, could be dealing with some more rain as well. Here's a look at the next 10 days, and we stop this right about here. And this is through early Monday morning. Now, as we head through there, you can see more of the rain there across the south and the east, a little bit more rain across the center of the country where we really need it, and across the west. But watch this as we put this into motion through next week. More rain through the center of the country and through southern parts of Texas, which we're going to need that as well, getting rid of some of those drought conditions. But a lot more rain coming in for the southeast as well. And it's all because a couple of fronts are going to stay stalled out down in that part of the country and really not moving all that fast or all that far. High pressure keeping things pretty dry in the center of the country, but then another storm system moving through the upper Midwest is going to create some more shower and thunderstorm activity as we head through the second half of the weekend and into early next week. Temperatures staying warm though, 80s and 90s, and this is why we've got that big ridge continuing to be possible in parts of the west. Looks like it tries to break down, but then it will get even warmer as we head into early next week, as that ridge shows no signs of weakening, and we'll continue to track that right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Birmingham, Alabama, showers likely, a high near 83 degrees. Conrad, Montana, periods of showers, a high near 75 degrees. And heading down to Tuba City, Arizona, scattered thunderstorms, a high near 90 degrees.
It's another important time for beef, tailgating season. How it may be impacted by higher prices at the grocery store. Next. Beef seems to be getting cheaper at the grocery store these days, and that's bringing some relief to consumers. The Wall Street Journal reporting supplies are improving due to better staffing at meat plants. Plus, supermarkets are offering more discounts on ribeye, New York strip, and other often expensive products. It reports retail beef prices fell 0.7% in July, and that decline came after beef prices fell 1% in June. But that doesn't mean that beef prices aren't still higher overall as we enter tailgating season. According to a new report from Wells Fargo, the price of a number of tailgating essentials have gone up because of inflation. Gas costs more, and airfares are up 28% since last year. Beer is up nearly 5% since last July, and groceries are up about 13%. Now, if you're grilling, propane and firewood, they're up about 22%. To save some money, some are opting for hot dogs or pork ribs, which aren't up as much as chicken or ground beef. Coming up, spring wheat harvest is picking up speed, and if reports from the field are true, it could be a big year for North Dakota. An update next.
Ag Day, brought to you by Rumensin. Rumensin's quality, consistency, and efficiency make it the right choice for your cattle operation. Rumensin, trusted by generations.
Amid all the talk about corn and soybeans this week on Crop Tour, we don't want to neglect the harvest of a very important crop right now, wheat. And if the USDA's projection of 51 bushels per acre pans out, North Dakota could experience the best year of wheat harvesting ever. As Joel Crane of AgDay affiliate KFYR reports.
Amber waves of grain, a sight for sore eyes after last year's drought.
To come back from a drought like that, I would have never expected it, but it really was an amazing feat that Mother Nature came up with.
For Kurt Coleman and his brother Clark, who farm east of Baldwin, 2022 is shaping up to be a bumper crop year.
Our proven yield is at 38 to 40 bushel, and we've taken off probably a couple hundred acres now, and I think we're probably going to be well into the 50s as an average.
And they haven't even harvested their best fields yet.
I think that as we get maybe to some of our little bit further east fields that caught a little bit more rain than we did around home here, I kind of think they're going to be significantly better. Like 5-10 bushel better maybe.
But for the Colemans, wheat might not even be their best crop this year.
Probably the best barley crop that we've ever raised.
The Colemans aren't counting their chickens just yet, as harvest for a variety of crops will continue into the fall. But for now, they're happy with the yields they're seeing. In Baldwin, I'm Joel Crane reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Joel. And make sure to join us again tonight for the last night of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour online at 8 p.m. Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Thanks for watching.